An Inconvenient Truth, episode 45. So today we're coming from 1 Corinthians, verse 18. I know very well how foolish the message of the cross sounds to those who are on the road to destruction. I didn't say it, the Bible said that. Paul said that. He's writing to the Corinthians and he's saying, look, if you don't believe in the power of the cross, you're in a bad spot, right? So let's skip down to verse 20. So where does this leave the philosophers, the scholars, and the world's brilliant debaters? God has made them all look foolish and has shown their wisdom to be useless nonsense. Since God in his wisdom saw to it that the world would never find him through human wisdom, he's used our foolish preaching to save all who believe. Our foolish preaching. God's way seems foolish to the Jews because they want a sign from heaven to prove it's true, and it's foolish to the Greeks because they only believe what agrees with their own wisdom. Okay, got through that part. Here's the thing. So Paul's writing to the Corinthian church, and he's basically saying God has set this whole thing up, right, to where we can't grasp it and fathom it in and of ourselves. Now, before I go any farther, I heard this. I've heard people say, "Well, if he's God, he needs to make it easy for me to understand." I'm not going to say that person is not smart, but I'm going to say that thought process is not smart. If I have to be able to understand God, then how smart is God? Right? He needs to be above my level of thinking. He still needs to be able to communicate with me, but I personally want my God to be of a higher level of thinking than me, right? Which is why other religions are easily picked out. They all have basically the same thing. Be a good person, you get into heaven. It's your works that get you there. They all have the same thing. That's what sets Christianity apart, because it doesn't make sense. God's like, I'm going to defy the religious nuts, and I'm going to defy the non-believing nuts, right? Now think about this. He's literally like, I'm going to bring salvation because me, being God, in the flesh, his son, robed in flesh, I'm going to give my life. I'm going to go through torture to save everyone who believes in me. Where else does that happen? In what other religion? And scientifically, the scientists are like, I need to be able to, you got to prove it to me. Well, I don't know how to make sense out of anointing someone with olive oil and praying the prayer of faith, and all of a sudden they get healed. I don't know how to prove that to you, other than you can go look at the medical records. It's inconvenient because it's not what we're taught in our society. It's not how the world seems to work. Good thing we're not of the world. It's inconvenient, but it's